Deep breath. I finally decided to post stories that concern my more unsavory family members, namely everyone on my mother's side. This story is one of the times that my cousin attempted to harm me or one of my siblings. My cousin Mary had always been an attention-seeking, loudmouthed little girl. She was blonde, mischievous, and full of energy. Being an equally loudmouth, attention-seeking half-white brunette, we butted heads a lot. This was especially true since, as a small child, I used to think that she was treated better than the rest of us grandkids because her parents were divorced and her father, our uncle, lived with my grandparents still. Looking back on it, it certainly excuses some of her behavior and explains it, but not everything. My family often let us kids spend a month out of the summer with our grandparents. We called it Camp Nana, and we would go camping, bake cookies, all the good stuff, but those times weren't without their dark side. Mary and I argued a lot. One of the last days of our vacation, things went overboard. My grandparents had a hot tub in the back, and they let us play in it by ourselves while we waited for my mom to come pick up her kids. My cousin was going to be staying for an extra couple of days. I can remember my cousin trying to rub it in my face, but I was ignoring her at that point, which only made her angrier. I don't remember what happened next, but my mom told me the rest of the story. Apparently, she arrived early to pick us up and went out to the backyard where the hot tub was. She found Mary holding me under the water and flipped. My mom shoved Mary away and pulled me out of the water. I wasn't responsive, so she gave me mouth to mouth. I coughed up water and came back, shaken but alive. Unfortunately, Mary and my uncle managed to convince my mom that we were just playing a game, and that Mary hadn't meant to hold me under like that. So, next year we went back, and my mom didn't even take me to the doctors. I guess she didn't want to think that things could have gone so wrong either. The fugitive in the hot tub. This happened to my friend last night. She lives in a wooded area, and at night the local roads are pitch black. Like turn on your brights pitch black. She also has a roommate who last night, just her luck, was at a concert a few hours away. So she goes to bed. An hour or two later she wakes abruptly. A man is yelling outside her window, and a dog is barking wildly. She does not have a dog. She's instantly awake. She grabs her phone and reaches for her gun. She has walked through this sort of scenario in her head 100 times before, but of course, nothing could have prepared her for the real event. She's terrified, and shaking so violently she can barely control it, like a seizure. She calls 911 soon after. No sooner than she did, she tells the operator her address when the voice on the other end says that the situation has been taken care of. The police are already there. By the time she hangs up, there are 6 cop cars lining her street in front of her house, lights blazing. The dog was with the police, a German Shepherd. At 6:20 this morning, a police officer stopped by her house to fill her in on what happened. Apparently, there was a high-speed chase and a crash. A dude rolled his truck and ran from the accident. The police used dogs to track him down to her property. The guy walked all around her outer fence. They found him in her hot tub. He was hiding in it with a cover on. Apparently, he ducked under the water to hide from the police. Hot tub serial killer. My husband and I are night owls, and when we were newly married, we had a habit of going to the gym pretty late, and always ended up with a quick soak in the hot tub. One night, as we went to the hot tub at about midnight, there was already another average-looking guy sitting in the hot tub. He struck out some small talk with us and explained he was from Washington and was passing through town on his way to camp at some sand dunes a couple hours south of where we were in Utah. These sand dunes are completely isolated and far away from any major populated areas. Kinda strange place to camp if you're unfamiliar with the state. He also tells us he is a house painter and just works through referrals because that way he can work on the fly and can't be tracked. Okay. This guy is really talkative, like we can barely get a word in and are mostly just sitting there listening. Somehow, he turns the conversation to conspiracy theories, 9/11, government controlling us, etc. At this point, we just kinda politely pretend to be interested, but I'm starting to get weird vibes from him. The guy starts telling us drug stories about how he had always loved to party. His neighbors ended up hating him because he was always partying. They called the cops on him because he had abandoned a car on their property and would not move it, so he hated them. I mean, I wish I could remember all the details. It's been 4 years since this happened. He tells us the reason he is out here is because of his neighbors. They tipped off the cops that he was involved in a murder case that he swears he has nothing to do with. Also, this isn't the first time something like this has happened to him. He was getting too much media attention, so he had to leave. He had been camping the whole trip, so the cops can't find him. He is paranoid though, because robotic CIA planes have been tracking him in the desert. He just knows it. Now, me and my husband, at this point, we are pretty freaked out. Almost an hour has passed, and we're just sitting here listening to this guy. Like, what the heck's going on? Suddenly, there is a lull in the conversation, and it is super uncomfortable. All of a sudden, the guy realizes he has said too much, way too much to us. And the next thing we know, he's getting out of the hot tub and is gone. So we realize it is late and we are super creeped out. I remember at that moment making a mental note that there is a surveillance camera in the room and that this guy is on tape. We hurry and get out, and I am the only one in the woman's locker room. My heart was beating so fast, and I was getting dressed faster than I ever had before. Once we leave and drive home, we both agree that this guy definitely had something to do with the murder he was talking about. We make sure all the doors are locked, and I am freaking out that he followed us or something like that. My husband is usually calm and never freaks out about stuff like this, but he had his gun ready to load just in case. Neither of us could sleep, in fear that this creep was outside our apartment, and we started looking for details online, trying to find out more about this strange situation. Eventually, we found the murder that he was talking about, and there were suspects for the case. And the main suspect was linked to another couple of murders that happened in the woods of Washington. They could never make an arrest in the case because they did not have concrete evidence, but they were sure they knew who did it, and the guy in that case was arrested for some time because of the neighbors reported an abandoned car. What? Is it the guy from the hot tub that killed the girls and suspected of the murder now? I don't know. We couldn't sleep until morning, and the next day, we tried to find somewhere to leave tips to help solve the case. My husband sent them an email with a few details about talking to the man in the hot tub, and the day after, an agent from the FBI called him for the full story that we had. Eventually, he ended up telling him he had been really helpful and thanking him. We tried to keep looking up for details on the case on anything else, but in the end, never really found anything. I have long since forgotten the name, or I have long since forgotten your name. But murder in the hot tub. Let's not meet again. Team's away trip. Long-time lurker, first-time writer, all that jazz. Please let me know about any formatting issues. So, several years ago, when I was 15 years old, I joined a team in my high school that traveled often to away tournaments. I had an older coach who was a woman, and we were very close. My other coach, named Michael, was about a 30-year-old man with a wife and an infant son. He seemed very friendly and was always willing to help us before tournaments and with one-on-one sessions and stuff like that. Now, we never got any creepy vibes from him, and we used to joke around in a rather stupid and childish way that if he wasn't married, he might be gay. I was particularly successful on the team, but as a 15-year-old girl, I had all these stupid issues, and sometimes I would talk to my friends on the team about them. For some reason, Michael had my phone number, presumably for team updates and whatnot. He started by just texting me about my performance, the team's performance, etc. Then, the texting became more casual and friendly. Like, hey, what's up? Or, what do you have going on today? Warning signals should have gone off immediately, but I was 15 years old, naive, and willing to see the best in people. My mom noticed something was off about the situation, and she would ask me why I kept texting my coach so frequently. I told her he was just being friendly, but she remained suspicious. It wasn't as though I particularly enjoyed the texting, but I felt obligated because he was my coach, and I didn't want to be rude and have him treat me unfairly for doing so. I would get bored fairly quickly, though, and stop replying. Noticing this, he would send me 4 to 5 messages in a row, apologizing for surpassing his limit and making me feel uncomfortable. I would of course feel bad and say that wasn't the case, but it actually was. After a while, the conversation turned strange. He was mentioning things like getting coffee outside of team practices, and saying he was willing to do whatever to help me win. One weekend, my team had an away trip for a 2-day tournament at a town several hours away, so we had to stay at a hotel for a night in the town. During the tournament, Michael was around me frequently and even came to watch my performances, which was odd, because he was usually supposed to be doing something else with my other coach. With him watching me with his beady eyes, my performance wasn't as good as usual, and I didn't do as well. My stress was visible to other team members when I returned, and my friend gave me a pointed look as if asking, "Why was he watching you around?" Michael texted me the first night after the tournament, and suggesting working out together to de-stress, to take care of the stresses we were having. At other tournaments before, the entire team would go swimming in the pool, and he would join us in the hot tub sometimes, which, honestly, always made me feel a little uncomfortable. And now working out just the two of us gave me bad vibes, and I declined, saying that I would rather just sleep and get some rest. Instead of working out, he suggested I come up to his room just to relax, and that he can give me a massage. Warning bells went off immediately, but I, being the idiot that I was, didn't immediately go to my older coach and tell her what was going on. I was with other girls in the room, and I didn't tell them either, even though I now realize I should have. He continued texting me for a while afterwards, but I would make up some excuse as to why I couldn't talk to him and why I could not reply to his texts. I think he realized soon after that he had messed up big time and just stopped trying to talk to me, which was a good thing, to be honest. Then, several months later, I get a phone call from my coach in the middle of the night. She tells me that Michael had been arrested after his wife checked his phone and found out he had been having sex with a 14-year-old girl on our team, which is statutory rape. My coach was frantic and asking me whether he had tried to do anything with me, and I told her the whole story. It turns out that there were several other girls on the team, all minors, that he had been talking and offering help to. He's in prison for the next 10 years, and I talked to my best friend, and he apparently had been doing the same to her, but she didn't tell me because she was so scared. Anyways, moral of the story, if someone twice your age is asking you to come into his hotel room and you're a minor, you probably shouldn't go meet him. Thank God I didn't.